Just a little bit about the Arts and Business Council. We are a 501c3 arts service nonprofit that leverages and unites the unique resources of the arts and business communities to create a thriving creative culture in Nashville and beyond. This partnership with the Tennessee Entertainment Commission is a 4-part webinar series focused on film, music, and entertainment as a whole in the state of Tennessee. Today's panel is going to be a great discussion about how to get your music placed in film and television. We're going to talk about it from both the music side and also a little bit from the filmmaker, content creator side as well, and what those different aspects are. Couple of things I want to let folks know about. The first is that the Arts and Business Council runs the Volunteer Lawyers and Professionals for the Arts for the state of Tennessee, and what we call it VLPA for short. But what it does is it provides pro bono legal and business services to artists and arts organizations of any discipline who are income qualified, living and residing in the state of Tennessee. Our next event is a Ask the Experts Business and Legal Clinic happening on February 9th. There'll be a link in the chat where you can register for this, but if you have legal questions, accounting questions, other general business questions about your creative practice, you can register for that and get assistance through us. Our Volunteer Lawyers and Professionals for the Arts program handles over 400 cases a year. So if you have an issue, reach out to us and we can try to help you. I also want to let you know that we are right now accepting applications for our Periscope Artist Entrepreneur Training Program, which is an annual intensive training in entrepreneurial skills. It's 8 weeks of training followed by 6 months of one-on-one mentorship. One of our panelists today is actually an alum of last year's cohort. Shout out Mimi. And so you can register, you can find out more information and you can apply for that program on our website. The applications are due February 10th. And then also I want to let folks know, if you are a business professional interested in serving on the board of an arts nonprofit organization, we have a program called Arts Board Matching. We've extended the deadline. So tomorrow at noon is the application deadline. You'll see the link in the chat for this as well. If you reach out to us and you're interested in this, feel free to contact us through our website, submit an application, and we'll try to get you in this spring cohort for that program as well. All right, and so now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to show you a video from the Tennessee Entertainment Commission talking about the impact of the film, music, and entertainment industries in the state of Tennessee. The thing about that video that always stands out to me is that number 6 billion with a B. What an incredible economic impact for the state of Tennessee. I always want to call that out because that, I think, defines how important these industries are for everyone in the state and what that impact really is for everyone. But right now, let's jump right into the panel and have our panelists introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Barbara Hall. Barbara, will you introduce yourself?
Sure. Barb Hall, transplant, I guess, from Canada, quite some time ago, 25 years ago. Did not plan for this as a career, fell into it, understood music and understood publishing because I was in a band in Toronto and we were doing some writing. And so when I moved here, I opened up a little business called Clear Cut. And I just, because I didn't have my green card yet, I had offered to help people clear their music for television productions. And that was 25 years ago. That business is thriving and we stay very busy. So I am on the end of working with filmmakers and television producers with their music rights, often get to help select or make suggestions when it comes to actual music supervision. But the bulk of what we do is help filmmakers and producers acquire and close up deals and buy music on their behalf.
Thank you, Barb. Mimi, will you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Mimi Mccarl with owner of Collab Music Network, and I am a songwriter myself and a graduate of Middle Tennessee State University. And I realized that I was surrounded by a lot of songwriters who didn't understand the music business and understand what is needed to help, monetize their music. And so I felt I was better suited to take my skills and talents to serve the people around me that I admired. And so I created an ecosystem where I empower songwriters and creators to be better publishers. So I don't do work for them, I do work with them, and I teach them the business so they can build a solid foundation of the music business so that they can, and I help them monetize their music through sync, primarily focusing on TV and film, advertising and trailers. So that's me.
Thanks. All right, Angela, will you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. Greetings from Memphis, Tennessee. Angela Green. I'm an attorney by trade, but I volunteer my time with a nonprofit organization here called On Location Memphis. And so for those of you all don't know, for 17 years, On Location Memphis hosted one of the international film and music festivals here in Memphis, Tennessee. However, when I took over the organization in 2014, I started to really reimagine what the organization could be for our community here in particular, but Tennessee as a whole. And what drew me to the organization to begin with, my background in law on the entertainment side was on music. And my clients wanted to find out how to get their music into TV and film. And so that's what drew me to the festival. And so once I took it over, I said, okay, that's always one of the main questions for music artists. But having worked with the festival and independent filmmakers, I realized that on the filmmaker side, there was apprehension on how the licensing work with music, and music can really hinder a project if not done properly and if you don't have the proper licensing in place. So because of that, we launched the Memphis Music Bank, which is a program for Tennessee music creators and publishers, in which we basically are teaching you how to prepare that music for licensing, but we take one step further in trying to at least help you to get some of those licensing opportunities. So you're essentially learning the licensing game through real life application. So that's what we're doing here in Memphis and for the state of Tennessee, and hopefully we'll be able to service many of you all in the future.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you for tuning in from Memphis too. Glad to have you here. All right, Terry Nelson Carpenter, will you introduce yourself?
Hey. Hi, I'm Terry Nelson Carpenter, and I too am a transplant. I am from Los Angeles, California, where I do have an office still. And during COVID, I guess I call it my COVID vacation, because we had to do something while we weren't out and about. We opened up an office and a studio here in Nashville in the Berry Hill area. And one of the first two people I got to meet was our dear friends above, Mimi and Barb. And it's now really great to meet you too, Angela. So I really look forward. We've already started to kind of work together, so I'm really enjoying that. We are a full service music publishing company that specializes in music for film and television and international rights management. I have been in business for almost 13 years. And prior to that, I started my career at BMI in film and television in Los Angeles. And then I went over to Hemdale Film Corporation, and I was director of music there, where we did, Platoon, Last Emperor, Hoosiers, some pretty well-known films there. And then I moved over to MGM, where I was the head of production music over at MGM. And when they went bankrupt, with all of the craziness going on with the banks in Europe who were lending to those guys at that time, I jumped over to Fox, and I was hired by Rupert Murdoch and Chaim Saban to run the Fox Family Worldwide Global Music Department. So it's been really kind of a ride, and I am a singer by trade. I have a degree in vocal performance and composition. but I have found that the art of business has a lot of creativity to it as well. So all of us here, I feel, have that sensitivity toward the people who create music, and then being able to help them on the back end to be able to realize, protect their asset, and then grow their revenue from it. So we are here, we're ready to serve. We have offices outside the US, in Johannesburg, in Mumbai, in Dublin, and we are growing like crazy. And so we really look forward to meeting all of you and a new member of the CMA.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank
All right,
you.
well, let's jump into this, Terry. I'm going to start with you, and everybody can kind of jump in on this question, but I'll ask kind of this to you first. Is let's start at the beginning. Like, what is sort of for a music producer, for someone who makes music, what is the overall process for matching music to a film and TV project? And I think we'll look at this both from the music creator side and the film creator side, but let's start with the music creator perspective. You know, what are the steps in the process that a music creator needs to go through in order to get their music placed?
Well, the one thing I would say to start with is do your homework. Find out what music is being used in film, television, trailers, gaming, you know, you name it. There's so many ways that music can be used. You need to find out what is happening now. And as a creator, you know, that's a pretty broad question, because you could be a creator of single songs. You could be a creator of a library. You can be a creator of different types of music, like your genre is Cuban music, or it's orchestral, or it's, you know, pop rock or whatever. Hone in on what you do best, but also do your homework and find out where you can make a quick impression. I'll give you an example. In the dance market, you know, when you have So You Think You Can Dance and Dancing with the Stars and the World of Dance, we're in every single show. And the reason we are is we have a 10,000 Cuban copyright catalog, and we are the go-to for Cuban music. And we represent some of the Buena Vista Social Club copyrights. And so that's both on the underlying copyright and on some brand new recordings of new Cuban artists. So this just kind of gives you an idea. Find out where you fit in, and find out, you know, where you're most effective. Your passion, your gift is going to be pretty, you know, apparent, but think about that first.
Thank you. Barb, I see you unmuting yourself. Do you want to respond to that as well?
I was just going to say, you know, at the other end where we do a lot of buying, Terry's absolutely right. It's interesting to me that there's just really no rules. It really depends on the project. And it's surprising to me sometimes how some current, what I think are super hip films, are looking for throwback songs or music, and then vice versa. It's very interesting to me. But I was going to say, you know, we see everything on all spectrums. And I think I was telling you this story, John. A brand stumbled onto us, the representative for the brand. It was a big brand. It was Heinz tomato ketchup. And they said, look, you know, we found this song on YouTube and we like it. Can you help us make a deal? So I found these 3 women who were doing this 3-part harmony, and they had created this song. They had no they had no representation. They didn't have you know, a lot of lawyers or even a publisher. And those women have probably made upwards of $100 grand on that one song that they never really meant for it to turn into a commercial. So sometimes it's as happenstance as that, or sometimes, you know, you have a song plugger and a publisher and everything is lined up and they're pitching to your music supervisors, but anything and everything in between.
Yeah, thank you, Barb. Angela, I'm going to come to you because I want to look at this. I want to kind of look at it from the filmmaker side. What's the filmmaker's perspective when they're looking for music? Where do they start? Where do they begin? Where does that process start on the filmmaker side?
So I'm not necessarily a filmmaker, however, I've been told. you know, sometimes they think about it at the beginning of the project, but a lot of times they don't think about it until the project is done and now they need some music, whether it's some placements or some composition, some, you know, they need a composer. And I think that's one of the things that we've kind of been driving home to the filmmakers that we're talking to, that it's important to kind of identify that music or identify that individual that's going to work with you on their project in the pre-production phase, so that they're kind of right there at the beginning with you, working with you, and, you know, trying to figure out exactly what type of music you're going to need. What type of music do you think you need? You know, sometimes the filmmaker does have something in their head that they want for a particular scene, but that song is way out of their budget. I mean, the song probably costs as much as the whole budget, you know, if you're a filmmaker. And so having someone else who's there, a music supervisor, or someone who can basically create that feel for them, that's something for them to really think about. So, you know, like I said, filmmakers, they may think about it at the beginning. Most of them think about it at the end. We try to encourage them to think about it at the beginning and think about their independent musicians. They're independent filmmakers, they're independent musicians who are trying to get placed. You all can work together and you can work a deal that's definitely within the budget of what you're trying to do.
If I can, I'd
Yeah,
love to
please.
add to that. Having worked and being part of that process from the filmmaker's perspective, you know, a filmmaker, they should look at it at pre-production, because in the script stage, there's oftentimes musical references or opportunities for music to be performed during principal photography. So that in itself really starts the process. And also, these directors get so in love with temp tracks. We call it temp love. And I know that Barb has probably tried to clear her way out of that. But, you know, it's when you bring in original composer. I have one of my clients that's on this webinar, Charles, and he's done a lot with Star Trek and so many other really great films and TV shows. And the thing is that, you know, you get somebody on sooner and you advocate for yourself to be brought on sooner, then you can definitely make a positive impression on the direction of it. Also, too, it gives the production a longer time to deal with the rights issues surrounding music, understanding what their potential budget is, where they might be able to include some on-camera. You know, somebody breaks out in song, you've got to clear that, and you've got to have somebody on board that can identify that, because sometimes it just happens, it's not written. And so, you know, pre-production through post-production and then be on the screen, because it doesn't stop once you have a locked picture.
That's true.
Yeah.
If I can chime in, a lot of what comes through here is actually unscripted. And so, and I always, whenever they come to us, usually, Terry, you're right, we do a lot of cleanup here where we're attached to this song. I gotta have this song. I don't have the right budget. I don't know what my distribution is, you know, but I want this song. So we fight on behalf of that filmmaker or producer. But you know, relationships are everything in this business, like probably in most businesses. And so recently I got to know Mimi. She sent me a bunch of links in their catalog. I have put those out there to say, this is available. This, you know, we can work within your budget. These are fully clearable. This is fully clearable music. So those kinds of opportunities where you can get with somebody like a Mimi who can, you know, put all her stuff together. She has it in certain categories. It's easy to navigate. It makes it very helpful, because we're also competing with library music, which, you know, is cheap and easy, really cheap and really easy. And so it makes this world a little bit more difficult, because there's just more and more and more of it. And once it becomes so difficult for previously recorded or copyrighted music to be incorporated, I've had multiple times been lost to, well, then we're just going to go with some library tracks. And that, you know, that just kills me. It's really unfortunate, but that is what we're up against.
And it's really the one-stop shop. If you own both sides of the equation, the composition and the sound recording. And if you don't, but you know who your partners are. If you can have an understanding with your partners that allows you to help out, you know, a production company, a music supervisor who really likes the song you pitched, you can put forth, hey, I do have a co-publisher and I do have a co-master rights owner or whatever. And this is their contact information. This is the understanding that we have about pitching for film and TV. Then you may have an opportunity to be able to pitch that music as a one-stop, because they just need to know that they're not going to have to go running after, you know, 10 different publishers. All I have to say is after I cleared Uptown Funk for the first time, oh my God. And every week somebody else has a 0.5% of that song, right? But it's like, you know, you want to be able to make it easy, because the easier it is, the better chance you have. And the best is a one-stop shop.
Terry,
Yeah,
let
no
me ask this.
license lawsuit.
What are the things, and anybody can answer this, but what are the things that the music creator needs to have in place to be ready, to have everything cleared? Like, what is that? What does that list look like?
I'll comment here. This is where I help songwriters. Most songwriters write and they record and they don't do the other part. So for me and my system, what I found to help is, one, your split sheet. You know, it's the most important document. Having everybody documented or who have contributed to that record, making sure that those contributors have their music business account set up so that you can pre-clear that. Because if we have a song together and one person doesn't have, if there's a broken chain in the link, it hinders the flow of money. So making sure that those accounts are set up and they have that information readily available. Here's a big one: deliverables, like having your stems to a song. So how many times have we tried to clear hip hop records that were amazing and that were on hold and the producer could not deliver the final stems because their hard drive crashed. So, you know, lessons that you learn at the beginning, you know, I don't pitch now without proof of stems. And then also your lyrics, because a lot of times supervisors want to see what is the theme of this song, you know. And another thing that I utilize is I tag all my music so that in a short amount of time, you can see, is this theme love, is it relationship, is it dark? And so it'll show things like the genre, the mood, the theme of the song, and some keywords. And so I have found those things to be helpful. And then of course the other deliverables are going to be a full mix, an acapella, the instrumental, and different music supervisors want different things in different form files, whether it's WAV or AIFF or whatever. Just be prepared and readily available to convert whatever you have. But in my system, we collect these deliverables as we go through the process, and we get 100% buy-in from our independent music creators because they don't know to do it. It's a pure ignorance. They just don't know to do it. So some people do have the right music and don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge on what to do to be prepared for the opportunity.
Yeah, and one thing you said is really key because a lot of people forget it, the lyric part. From a content creator, a visual content creator perspective, they also have standard and practices that they have to be able to go through, and being able to know that whatever that protocol is, meaning if it has, if it's centered around a certain subject and there are certain keywords or there are certain inflammatory words that they're not allowed to use in broadcast or within the production of that film, that's going to be preset before they start. So these lyrics also give them the ability to say, see, it follows, you know, our standard and practice. And the one thing too is make sure you protect your music. Make sure that you register it with the performing rights societies, both as a writer and a publisher. Some people think all they have to have is a writer's side. Legally, that's true, but in business, it's not practicable. So really make sure that you are a member and that your music is registered by BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, whatever your choice is, or there are strategies about how to do it internationally in order to benefit from, you know, higher pay. But we can talk about that later. That's another webinar, how to make more money from your copyrights.
sign us all up for that one.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
And I'll
Well,
chime.
I would add to not just register as a writer and a publisher, but also register the song because
Yeah,
you find many
exactly.
people registered as a writer and a publisher, but they've never submitted their actual song and
Right.
the song under their name. So
And that's to Sound Exchange, so that you've got, your neighboring rights that are coming, and making sure you have your identifiers, your ISWC, which represents your composition, and your ISRC, which represents your sound recording. And those are identifiers that are unique to your work.
mhm.
And I can back that up with multiple real world examples where filmmakers or TV producers have come to us and say, oh, I found something, I want this, I like this, I like this. And we dig under rocks to try to find them. So if it's not with with a PRO, or you're with a PRO and your information is outdated, we consider ourselves here sometimes detectives to try to have to track down somebody who wants to buy your music. And that becomes, at some point, if we can't find them, we can't license it because we can't find them. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're, make sure you are registered with the PRO. Make sure it's not like there's contact information with the PRO, so they can actually find you, or we can actually find you.
And there's a new service with the overall society called CISAC. That's the global society that manages all the BMI and ASCAPs of the world. And the working group that we were in has developed what they call an ISWC allocation. And oh gosh, now my brain has decided not to work. Allocation and resolution service. So if you're wondering where the heck do you get those codes, you get them from your society, but you can go through the website at CISAC. That's CISAC.org, and you can go to their website and you can put your titles in, and you can find out whether your ISWC codes are correct, and you can also get new ISWCs. So just so you know, that's available along with a brand new Q sheet, global Q sheet, which I'm happy to share afterwards, where you can get that. That'll give you the latest and greatest format that's being used globally, along with all of the identifiers and meanings attached to it. So
I'll say this too. So, if anyone is confused, there's a lot of technical jargon that's happening in this world. And I know for independent creators that don't know where to start, sometimes it can be over their head. So like when I say 100%, if anyone needs help, just foundationally, I can send links or whatever is necessary. I'll coordinate with Jonathan to make sure that y'all have access to the right links for the right accounts. And even will be willing to walk you through that. We can jump on a Zoom. But again, I'm all about empowering these independent music creators to do this, because what they're saying is accurate. And if it's not in place, don't worry about your music, just stop. Because you're not in position to monetize your music. And I mean, there's too much time and energy and effort put into it not to take care of this. This is business, and these things have to be in place in order to put yourself in position to monetize. If you are pitching without these things in place, you're out of order. So let's take the time that we need to get ourselves prepared for opportunities, because I'm sure that we got some super rock stars on this call, on this Zoom call, and we just want to make sure you're in position.
Mimi, thank you.
I wanted to add something just to take note. That ISWC code, I don't think they're going to assign that code if you're missing any of your publishers or if you're missing any of the information for your writers. So if you go to your account and you see you do not have that code, that's because not all of your publishers and writers' information have been inputted and confirmed. So just keep that in mind as well.
Thank you, Angela. And yes, if you will send me links, anything, I will make sure that goes out to everyone that's on this webinar today. And I'll get that out to everybody. But one thing that I heard in the conversation was relationships. And we asked everybody that signed up for this webinar to submit questions. The number one question almost everyone submitted, or at least 2/3, was, how did they get their music in front of music supervisors? How do they pitch it? Like, how do they build those relationships? What do they need to do to start building those relationships?
I think one of the first things you need to do is to start networking. And Barb said it best from the top of the program, and that is it's all about relationships. And relationships can take time to develop. There are the Guild of Music Supervisors has a membership level called FOG, Friends of the
The
Guild.
guild.
And so I would recommend, I think I told Mimi about that when she
And I
was
signed
there.
up immediately.
Oh, great. Well, you can tell her the benefits. And the thing is you don't have to be a music supervisor with a numerous amount of credits to be able to join. But what that will allow you to do is, okay, during COVID, they're doing virtual, but you're going to be able to soon learn who the players are, who are the music supervisors, what are they doing, what are they talking about, what is of interest in their community, because you're part of that ecosystem being a creative. They need you, and you need to find out who are the people you want to be in contact with in that world. So start with Guild of Music Supervisors, be a friend of the guild, and it's also going to open up doors at Variety and the Hollywood Reporter in order for you to be able to attend specialized webinars where they might talk to the cast of, just this last week, I think it was Jennifer Hudson for Respect. They also did No Time to Die. So they had the entire James Bond cast on it. And they talked about music. They talked about, the whole project in general. So you're working in supporting a visual project. You need to make sure that, you get yourself in the mix. And that would be one of the first steps that I would say. And the other thing is we use, and I'm happy to share this with you because it's really helpful. We use a service from Variety called Variety Insight. It does cost money. And what it does is it tells us for the whole year, we get it and we renew every year, what programs are coming up, what programs have been greenlit, and who are working on those programs from producer to director, and if there is a music supervisor assigned for that project. And we get what's happening across all platforms, and our team divides it up, and we start to look at, this is the part I said about doing your homework. We're finding out what music is being used in these different projects, and if they are people we happen to know, we reach out and say, what does this season look like? And I'll give you an example of how crazy it can be. There's a music supervisor who worked on a very unusual show called Stranger Things. And we have a client, Richie Ramone, and he wrote a new album. They loved the album, but they said, can you give it to us Mimi's point, can you give us the instrumental stems to that? Because the music is so edgy and we like the instrumental side of it. We might want to be able to use both sides. And so they took the album and, they ended up using the instrumental side and not the vocal side, even though Richie's amazing on the vocal. But look what happened, and you have to just start to reach out. The studios and music supervisors want trusted sources. They need to know that the music you are offering is free and clear, and that you are the legal person to make that happen. If you do not own any portion of that song, you will harm a music supervisor and they won't use you again if they find out that this happens, and the studio won't use any of your music. And sometimes it innocently happens, but you really have to make sure that you understand who your co-writers are, co-publishers are, and the rights that you have in licensing this music. So those are just a few ways to get started.
I'll say too, with networking, it's a racket, right? But one of the things that I've learned is, before you approach someone and you're doing your homework, you really need to be solid about who you as a creator and what you have to offer. I've learned from my own personal experiences where you enter into you're just not prepared. I'm all about preparation. If you're not prepared to take advantage and to fully utilize and maximize the relationship because you just didn't know how to talk about what you do or what you bring to the table, then take the time. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Take the time to get established. And I'll do a shameless plug here. Periscope helped me to really refine my business model and how to talk about what I do because I was all over the place. And so it's little things like that that really help in networking because you got to remember this is an oversaturated market. And yes, you can cut through, but it takes Terry said, it takes time to build a relationship, and being a trusted source is not going to happen typically on the first interaction. So it can be done, but just really be comfortable with who you are and what music you create naturally. Like, what is your low hanging fruit that I can do with my eyes closed? And then from there, finding the places where that naturally fits. I know for me, I was trying to create everything, every brief that came across my table, and I was a hot mess because I wasn't great at all of that stuff. And my niche is hip hop and R&B. And so just be really comfortable about who you are and how to talk about that. To music supervisors or other publishers or songwriters or whoever you're talking to, it should be very concise.
Because when you're responding, by the way, to a brief, you need to make sure you give them what they're asking for. You may want to share everything you can with them, but just give them what you're asking for and start that relationship. And then as it goes on, when they're not asking for something, maybe you can share a new recording. And the thing is keep it simple. Keep it very simple. Keep it brief. And
3 to 5.
Yeah. And like right now, hip hop and urban music is an area where we're not strong in. And I'm really glad that I know Mimi and I know others in this field that allow me to take from those friends and say, hey, if I get a brief, I'm happy to say, I think I might be able to help you. And I'll say, Mimi, do you have this kind of music? And she'll say, yes. And she actually sent me a few for something I was looking for. And so, you need to know each other and your strengths because somebody might get a brief that they can't respond to, but you might have the music and you can work together.
I just want to add just another perspective to that. I don't know if you all recognize the name Ludwig Garrison. I think that's it, Ludwig Garrison. He was the composer on Black Panther, and he is pretty much the only one who composes for Ryan Coogler. But the thing is they met in film school. So Ryan Coogler and Ludwig met while they were both students, and he scored his student project, and then he scored his first film because they had the relationship and they moved on. So I say that not to forget your independent filmmakers or these students who are in film school when you're networking, because sometimes you may be able to connect with a Ryan Coogler in the making, and you can basically ride that on into the industry. So just want to put that out as well when you're doing your networking. Don't just look to the top, so look sideways, and you definitely can connect sideways a lot easier than to connect above yourself.
I'm so glad you said that, Angela. And one of the things that I wrote down was because, it's so easy for us to talk about when you already have relationships, but if you're someone who's just entering in, how do you make those relationships? One place I've seen where a lot of those have started to build up, film school is a great idea, but I was going to say film festivals. So you'll have everybody from a first-time filmmaker to, up throughout the spectrum. Now, again, breaking in is really hard, but, relationships are everything. Terry's right. You don't want to be pitching something that, not sure is a good fit. But if you got a sense of who is a good fit, or you have a relationship, and maybe it's this time saying, you know what, my song's not right, but I know so-and-so, and they have a really good song. And then generally what goes around comes around, and hopefully, and then the same thing would happen back at you. But it's, film festivals, they don't cost that much to get in, but they usually have some sort of panels or music festivals. So if you can get in and you can go to panels and you can meet people and start relationships there, that's just one thought.
Yeah, they say there's a saying called grow with who you know. And to speak to Angela's point, like I still work with my colleagues from MTSU, and 15 years ago, we didn't know where we were going to be 15 years later. And so those relationships, be friendly and be nice, and make friends. This is we're people, we need each other. So just be friendly, and you never know who is going to be. You never know who is going to be where. You really don't. And you just want to maintain a healthy, happy relationship with as many beautiful people as you can, because you just don't know who.
Well, Barb, weren't you in the audience of the panel that I spoke on at Americana? And that's how Barb and I got connected. And I'd never, other than music biz, I had not been to many events here in Nashville before I moved here. And it was just really great to connect with you. And you knew what we did as a company, and that we're able to, even though Barb and I do clearance, we provide global writer publisher administration, licensing and clearance, and music supervision for all media. And I know that Barb does a huge clearance job, and she also is in content creation side as well. And that, we actually complement each other with respect to what we do, because there are some areas, like I have a real strength in classical music and classical music in foreign language. And that may be helpful to somebody she knows. It just, we've had a couple of conversations about how that can work out. And I've already gotten one supervision job from Barb, and I thank you for that. The Bella project.
All right. We
went
celebrate
well.
all wins, all wins.
It was great. And one of the things, when I want to grow my clientele of content creators, I go to South by Southwest, and I also go to MIP TV, MIPCOM in the south of France. I know it's kind of a schlep, it's in Cannes where Medium used to be, but I find more clients there in film and television than anywhere. And I mean, ITV is our client. I got them from going to MIP. TF1, the major network of France, because I was going to MIP. And now I'm going to be exhibiting for the first time. And I've been going there for over 20 years.
Yay.
It's so exciting, you guys.
Right.
So there's lots of ways to do it, but festivals and those kind of conferences that are film and TV related, Variety and Hollywood Reporter offer them. They offer them virtually, and they offer them in person in Los Angeles, in New York, and a few other set locations, but basically New York and LA. So you may have to travel once in a while to make those connections.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so we're about 12 minutes out from the hour. So I'm going to kind of jump into the Q&A. I've gotten a couple of questions in the chat, and I've had some submitted. But the first question was, what does someone do if they have done a cover music where they own the masters and the recordings, but they've licensed the publishing? Can they still do sync?
What do you mean they license the publishing? If it's a pre-existing song and that they just did a sound recording of it, there's tons of that music around. And when somebody goes for a license like that, they know that that song's been previously released, or else they wouldn't have a mechanical or otherwise a license to distribute that sound recording, but they don't have the publishing rights. They still have to go to the copyright owner.
Gotcha.
And I can vouch for that. We've licensed multiple recordings and covers of, I just did 4 for American Pie. So it's very possible, but you do have to have the publishing in place. So if you're saying you already have the publishing in place, like they've given you some kind of blanket license, which is unusual. It almost does, that sounds kind of funky to me. You would have had to, if it's a popular song, paid them an awful lot of money to get the publishing rights. It sounds more like you have permission. I'm assuming it's not a derivative work, so it then would be licensable. But it gets complicated. If you've done a remake of someone else's copyright and you've changed it in some tweaky small way, you still have to get the permission from the publisher to put that out, because that's a derivative work. So you've changed their copyright. So just, you just want to make sure you have your ducks in a row. Terry, you probably know a little bit more about that than I do.
Well, the other thing is that the problem we have in licensing, remakes of a popular song is sometimes the publisher is also the artist, and they don't want to license their publishing without using their original recording. And at the network level, broadcast level, we constantly ran into that problem. I mean, the Stones, I'm telling you, ABCO is not going to move for anything. But, I've done Chris Isaac, and we've done re-records of, Wicked Game, which is done really well in trailers. So, gosh, that, there are opportunities. And I would really say that if you've got a really good arrangement of a song that you don't have to get permission because you're not changing the fundamental property of the song, I would say have a few of those in your arsenal, because you never know.
Covers are big.
Yep.
Covers are big in sync, and even a rearrangement or a different version. So same lyrics, again, having that ready, having all the details ready, and then of course having to clear that is a whole nother thing.
Yes.
Which kind of people deter away from that because it is very difficult sometimes to clear records. But if a production company is asking for that, a lot of times they will bear that burden in helping to clear that record.
So another question we have in the chat is, what advice would you give someone who's looking to break into music supervision as a career path?
I just answered them.
Oh, perfect. I see that now.
Join.
There's also
music supervisors.
there's also a course. I think Terry, you told me about a course that exists.
Yes.
I can't remember the name, but it might be valuable here.
Yeah, I mean,
The Guild has a mentor program.
Pardon?
The Guild has a mentor program.
Yeah, they do. They
So
do.
that's really a good place to start.
And I'm hooked up on so many different Facebook and Instagram groups that are particular to music supervision. And when you are in that space and you get to know music supervisors better, they can recommend you belonging to that group. And, it's all these different sync groups, and they're global. And I've done a great deal of work on those when I was looking for some very, out there pieces of vintage type, music that I didn't have. I was able to get some help from colleagues in the industry by putting it out on that chat group. Look, I'm looking for this. Do you guys have anything? And there's every music supervisor on the planet in these different groups. So get to know the people who are working in this space, and start with, the Guild of Music Supervisors. Join as a friend of the Guild, and you can get right in and start benefiting. And I think it's $100, I think, for the year.
Oh, wow.
There's also, I think, if you understand all the aspects of music licensing and music rights, so that when you do get a gig as a music supervisor, you have a sense of what's a fair price, because it's certainly here in the States, it's 100% negotiable. So there's no, unless it's public television, there's no statutory or compulsory rate. So it's completely negotiable. So if you have an understanding of, gee, what's a going rate for Netflix versus, something for a small cable channel, that's going to kind of help you. So if you get to know all aspects of the business as a developing music supervisor, one, you're going to meet a lot of people and make a lot of friends, and you're going to come with an added asset of knowing what's a reasonable budget as a music supervisor.
Thank you, Barb. And there's a question. Chris talked about doing an original song for a film producer for a kids movie, and asked if there's a way to find out about more opportunities where you might create original music for a production.
We use our Variety Insight. We get to know who the content creators are, and we start pitching our music. And we do the same in the advertising world too. We find out who is in that advertising space, who are the music supervisors. And, you know, if you're a creator and you don't have the resource to do all of this background, then you need to work with people who can do that for you, a sync agent or a publisher, or, you know, someone who, you know, a sync agent may just find you opportunities. But if you have a publishing deal with a company that can do these type of pitches for you, they not only can be a part of the process from the beginning of a pitch for sync, they can also follow it through and ensure that you get your performance revenue and any other revenue that may be, you know, realized from a project. I do want to say one of the things that you know, how pitches can go. We worked 2 years to get the Montage scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And we just got the scene, and I was really excited that we did. We filed for it after the very first one. But you know what happened from that is they decided they wanted to use that song for the trailer song. And then they put it as the first song on the soundtrack, and then in merchandise. And then they put it into a limited editions Doritos chip bag. So when you press the button on this cassette player that was embedded in it, our song came out. So, wow, but that took 2 years, and it was good money. But not even 2 hours after we got that, we got an inquiry about a Cuban song for Spider-Man: The Homecoming. And it took me 10 minutes to get that Montage scene. It can happen in 10 minutes. It can happen in 2 hours. And the amount of your music can go all the way and be used in so many different ways in a film and television, you know, project. So I encourage you to just, you know, get to know who the players are, who's, you know, producing television, who's producing films. Get to the new filmmakers. It's great because once you start with them, Hans Zimmer will be the first person to tell you that, because he's definitely in camp with many different, very notable filmmakers who were not anywhere on the planet when they started, you know, and now they're prominent film creators.
Being consistent too. I know a lot of times people just, you know, pitch one time, but in that relationship building, I mean, pitch over time. They say it takes 8 impressions before someone even really pays attention to your name. So, you know, don't be discouraged by lack of response. Just be consistent, stay steadfast, believe in yourself, and just do the work. Like, you have to pitch. Like, pitching is such a key component of getting the opportunity. So just pitch. And there's things out that talks about the art of the pitch and the information that was shared today. So I encourage you, if you got great music, you got all the deliverables, you can pre-clear it, pitch.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mimi.
Over time, pitch to the same people again and again and
Oh,
again,
yeah.
and to new people again and again and again.
But keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it bite-sized.
Concise. Yeah. They don't have time.
Well, y'all are doing exactly what I wanted to ask is, what is your final, like, we're almost at time. So I wanted to see, like, if someone walked away from today's discussion, what's the key takeaway you want them to walk away? And I'll kind of give everybody a chance to maybe a minute each to say, what do people need to know walking away from this today?
You want me to start?
Go ahead, Barb.
All right. I was going to say, as on the song creator side, is be easy to find. And then be easy to work with. And if you are trying to break into this side of the business, well, and for all of it, it's all about relationships. You know, it's who you know and who you can get connected to. And that's the way in. And it's tough, and no, it just is not now, maybe later. Yeah, don't give up hope. And I think it's very hard as someone, I understand it's very hard to be the creator and then selling your stuff and hearing somebody say, no, that's not right for me. That hurts. That's like your baby, you created it. So you got to find, if you can't be the one who can take it, then you need somebody like a Mimi or a Terry who can interface and be in the middle of that, which you probably creators need anyway. But yeah, relationships.
Yeah,
I would add follow through for the creator side. follow through on the business. So doing the things that need to be done, getting the agreements that need to be signed, registering where you need to have it registered. So that's what, just follow through all the way to the end, and you'll be happy. So when that opportunity comes, you don't have to get ready. You'll be ready. So that's what I would say on the creator side. On the filmmaker side, engage with that music person earlier on the front end. That's what I would encourage you to do.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna say, one, know who you are and what kind of music you do. Like, be settled in what that is and be great at that, because niche and expertise does cut through a lot easier. Then I would also say, don't put the cart before the horse. Like, you have to learn the foundational business in tandem with creating the music. So it has to happen at the same time. And there's a lot of resources out here. You know, there's no reason to stay ignorant in that space any longer. So many resources. You have persons here on this call, and you have organizations who exist for this sole purpose. So just make sure that you're learning the business so that you're in position to monetize. If you get an opportunity and you don't maximize the money opportunity, you have done yourself a disservice.
That's great. You said some of what I was going to say, so I'll add some extra ones. How's that?
Yes.
With respect to finding out about the business aspect, you don't have to be experts, but you're easier for us to work with you if you understand basically what's happening. And also it helps you protect yourself from yourself because you don't know what you don't know. And so organizations like the Association of Independent Music Publishers is a great organization to belong to that covers every aspect of the music industry and is really there to definitely, protect writers and really just to advocate for creators. And so I would really highly recommend that you join that. But I would say create quality music. Don't take any shortcuts. Create quality music. And the second thing is protect that music before you send it out, meaning make sure you register it. You have your writer share, your publisher share, and if you feel so compelled, copyright it. And then also do your homework. Know what music is out there being used across the board. And then start figuring out, as Mimi said, what your niche is and where you fit in that ecosystem, and start hitting that first. But I will tell you that music supervisors in general use all sorts of music. So just because on one production they're not using the music that you do well, don't forget about them, because they may need it for another project. But if you're pitching for something, give them what they want and make it simple. Make it real simple. Disco is the way that I deal with almost every single music supervisor, studio, director, producer. That's it. And that's definitely what I use internationally, because we have commercials going in Australia, and we have television going on in Africa. We have so much going on internationally, and you have to speak on the same, level, and your music has to travel seamlessly. One-stop shop if you can do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Terry. This was a wonderful session today. Thank you to the Tennessee Entertainment Commission for being a part of this and for helping us put this together, and for this wonderful series that we're doing. Folks, I would like to ask everyone, we're going to share a link to a webinar evaluation survey. If you'll take that survey, we'll also send that out in email as well early next week, and I'll get those links from everyone and I'll send that to everyone as well. So be on the lookout from that email from us. But otherwise, thank you everyone for attending. I hope that you found this to be a valuable resource. I hope that you will go back and check out all these resources. You'll become that friend of the guild with the music supervisors. You will copyright your materials, protect your materials, and then we'll hear your music the next theater or watching Netflix at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that road
Thank you,
trip.
John. Yes.
Memphis, here
Thank
we
you,
go.
Jonathan. Thank you,
That's
Arts
right.
and Business Council. Thank you, Arts and Business
Thank
Council.
you.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Jonathan.
You're great.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you,
Everybody have a
everybody.
great Thursday.
All right, have a
Bye-bye.
great rest of your day. Great weekend ahead.
Thanks,
right.
Jonathan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.